288 Mellow Media. Stay tuned as we will be going live soon. To sponsor a show or advertise, call or WhatsApp 0763 593 288. Mellow Media.
What's up, guys? My name is Senjo, and welcome to Ask a Young Zambian with Senjo on Mellow Media. Forgive me, I'm just recovering from a flu. Now, before I proceed to say anything, prepare your hearts to forgive me because I want to apologize for the delay. And Ashman, I think at this point it's also the disappointment because we announced the launch of this program some time back. And right after we did the launch, we were supposed to have episodes back to back, but because of things that I cannot speak about right now, we have undergone a really dry spell. And I'm pretty sure most of you have actually given up on the program. But you know, the program has very good intentions. Okay, we're not out here to take you on a roller coaster and just make you feel nice and dump you on the side. But at the end of the day, we have really good intentions, and we have things planned out that are going to help us see results beyond the conversations. So welcome, and again, I apologize on behalf of myself and my team. We apologize for the delay and also for the disappointment and for the prolonged quietness. But at the end of the day, we still stand by what we believe. Like I said on at the launch, this is not a Mellow Media centric effort to grow our brand. But because if you look around, there's so many things going on, there's so many things affecting young Zambians that they don't really have the courage and the loudness in the voice to speak out so that they can be heard. So today I decided to come out and just generalize things and speak about things that affect us, things that lead us to turn to certain vices and certain things that altogether cripple our ability and take away our productivity and ultimately takes away from what we would have contributed to the nation had we been sober minded and have we had a good state of our mental being. So today I decided to come out alone. If you have been following the talks around Ask a Young Zambian Essential, the plan is to have three guests, one expert or one trained personnel to speak about whatever has to be spoken about in that particular episode, and a random guest from the audience to give a first-hand experience of what is being spoken about on that particular topic. So today, I have been compelled to come and just generalize it and just throw it out there because of the overwhelming concern that's coming from the societies. Man, it's like no matter how loud we speak, no matter how hard and how conspicuous we try to put out the banner saying, do not do this, do not take your own lives, do not turn to this. It's like the more we speak, the more people are turning to those things. And the question is, what really can we do? What really do we need to speak about? Is there anything in particular that we are living out in our conversations, in our efforts to try and curb these problems, these issues? Just today, I read on social media that there's a man in Ndola who has taken his life because he failed to pay back a 2,000. Another man has taken his life in Kafue. I didn't read the full story, but it's these topics over and over. And the people that are killing themselves on average are young people. They say, Amiti Impanga, which translates to say the future of a nation depends on the young people. But what quality of a future do we have if the quality of if the quality and quantity ultimately of the young generation who are supposed to be the future is compromised? So these and many other reasons have prompted and compelled us to still continue despite the few challenges that we may be having in the background. But this has prompted us to still come out and speak, because regardless of the reception, regardless of the followership, regardless of the response, we still need to speak. Ours is not to tout people to get into our business. Ours is not to convince people, but ours is to speak. We have this platform. We know that a lot of people are speaking about this, a lot of famous people, a lot of celebrities. I think it was last year when Great North Road held a walk to raise awareness and just sensitization about mental health, especially putting emphasis on how suicide is not the solution to any issue or problem that anybody may have. So even if we are a young voice, even if we are a small voice, we still feel like even with the whispering effect that we may have, there may be somebody close enough who's paying attention, who can actually pick up and listen to what we are trying to say. So today I want to bring it home. Um, I want to bring this conversation home. Uh, I will tell you one thing, and I'll actually put $100 on this. In a room where there's 10 young Zambians, 8 of them are going through a mental health issue. It could be stress, it could be depression, it could be trauma, it could be anything. And if you ask around, the people that are committing suicide and killing themselves, they are going through one of these elements. You hear that they're depressed, you hear that they are going through that, but then what are the triggers? What really pushes them to that extent? Um, because I want this to be as candid and as realistic and as unscripted and as raw as it is. I want to share a story of myself. Okay, I'm not alien. I'm not any special from everyone else. I'm just another person like every other young Zambian. And if we talk about such issues, we have to talk about things that people can relate to. So I saw something. I don't know if it's a meme or a poster or whatever it is on social media that says it put together more like a collage of about 8 celebrities all wearing the brightest smiles, and these are people who will make you laugh, and if somebody cracks a joke they'll laugh the loudest, but behind closed doors they are the saddest people ever. They go through the most uh, traumatizing issues in their lives, and you cannot see, because depression and these mental health issues have a tendency of masking behind the brightest smiles. Okay. And I just realized this today when I was going through some of my pictures. Just recently, I was stressed. Okay. And this may sound like news or bluffing when I say it in front of people who know me, because when they looked at me during that period, there's no way they would have guessed that I was stressing. There's no way they would have guessed that I was actually going into depression with what I was going through. But thank God I was surrounded by people who gave me that cushion. My stress didn't graduate into depression. But nonetheless, if you know me and if you've been seeing me around, you would never have guessed that in the past about 3, 4, 5 months, I have actually been stressing. I have actually been going through issues. I've been having sleepless nights. You would not actually believe if I told you that. But you see, there isn't anything special about people who kill themselves. Some of them have never even had a record of being suicidal ever. It's just that when they get to a certain point, they fail to come out because of how people around them will look at them and whatnot, and they don't really have access to counseling, or even if they had access to counseling, they have pride. And this is what I want to especially draw a ring around. I want to draw. I'll keep on moonwalking in this circle until my point is seen and heard. So one of the problems that results in depression and stress and all these things is the fact that society has somehow created this, it has constructed this template that every person should fit in. If you become a misfit, if you don't fit in this template, you are less of a human being. The template is flashy places where people go that we see on social media. The template is labeled clothes. No, you have to wear Gucci, you have to wear this and that. And because there's this platform that brings the world close to us, like it shows everything that people go through, there's sort of a unification in a bad way, in the sense that what happens everywhere else is brought in one place, and people want to conform to that template. They want to reshape themselves and remold themselves so that they can fit into the templates that society has created. And in doing that, you set aside or you marginalize your own values, you marginalize your own identity, you marginalize who you really are because you want to conform. And because you want to hop onto a lifestyle that does not really suit who you are, and not only that, a lifestyle that you cannot afford, you start getting into credit. You start borrowing, you start doing that because you want to show and tell, because you want to show society that you belong. Okay, you want to show society that you're not a misfit, that you can actually socialize with everyone else. Okay, and in doing that, you neglect the things that actually matter. That's why you find that a person is looking happy on social media, a person is looking healthy and fit, but then when no one is looking, when the cameras are off, they're the saddest people. That's why we get shocked to say that person looks the healthiest among his peers. That person looks the fittest, but how come he claimed his life? A person who looks like that, can they actually claim or take their own lives? But at the end of the day, it's beyond what we see. It's beyond the expressions. We, if we're going to really curb suicide and these other expensive vices, I call them expensive because they come at a cost. Sometimes it comes at the cost of somebody's life. That's the extreme extent. But for us to really curb it, we have to be able to look beyond the expression, beyond the expressions that people give. We have to learn to listen beyond the voice. We have to learn to discern. Okay, and unfortunately, the social media and the society itself doesn't make anything easy, because one day we'll be preaching equality, we'll be preaching fairness, we'll be talking about ending suicide, but when we go back, we are the first ones to comment about a picture of a person who's built a certain way. We're the first ones to share those pictures, and it's a dangerous cycle. It goes in through one end and comes back through the other end, but at the end of the day, it still meets at a certain point, and it's conflicting. It doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, the two particular periods in my life that I really was under pressure, that I really bowed to the negative end of mental health. One of them was back in early 2012, when I went to bed and then I woke up with a slight pain in my leg, and that slight pain kept on excruciating for about 3 weeks. And from that time up to now, I still have the pain. And what happened the first 1, 2 years changed my life entirely. And up to now, there are certain things that I would have done if it wasn't for that pain that I haven't been able to do. It got to a point where I was fit, I was healthy, I was doing everything for myself, to a point where I became useless. My cousin would bathe me, I would be fed, I would be moved everywhere. And from a person who was so ambitious and athletic and all those things, when I sat down, I started thinking, I'm like, where has this come from? And when I'm around people, I'll be smiling. I'll be laughing, we'll be passing jokes about my leg, you know. But then when I'm alone, it's like that. And this is something that people do not know because I've never had the courage to speak about. But because I feel like there's so many people going through something like what I went through, I feel like I should speak about it. I feel like I should come out and tell the tale. There was a point I actually felt like if I can lose this part of my life that I have been working towards, what's the point of living? I actually got to a suicidal point. And by then, I was in Lusaka. Thank God I was in the company of people who loved me and genuinely cared for me. I was at my uncle's place. I was around my cousins who were with me all the time. They took me everywhere. But despite that, I just felt like I'm troubling them. Why should somebody be bathing me? Why should somebody be picking me up? So it felt like I do not want to pressure these people anymore. There's so many things that they could be doing with their time besides trying to stick around for me. I'm being a burden. And coupled with the fact that it feels like I'm not living for anything if this thing is not going to go away. I once used a wheelchair. I once used crutches. I like the world just crumbled from nowhere. You know what I mean? It changed the way I move. I couldn't play soccer no more. I couldn't throw kicks around. I couldn't run. Up to now, I can't run. But then just the realization that maybe there's hope. Maybe this thing, I grew beyond the thought of not wanting to take my life away because I thought about the other things that I could do even with my new state. So at that point, I accepted that this could be my new reality. So let me try to see how life can be with this change. Okay, so at that point, how I over remember the whole point of sharing this story is to help somebody realize that one, there's actually hope, and two, that there's always something you can do around it. Okay, so the first thing that helped me, the first thing that I did was surrounding myself with people who actually genuinely care. And I tapped into everybody's energies. When they smiled, I faked a smile, and in the faking it, actually made it. It turned out to be a genuine smile. And I constantly spoke to my cousin. My cousin really helped me, man. I constantly spoke to him, and yeah, that really put me through. And the other time is just recently. This one is this one is almost unbelievable. Let me show you what a depressed person can look like real quick. Because a lot of times we don't take people seriously due to the fact that we expect people who are stressed and depressed to be sitting in a corner somewhere, sobbing on their own, just looking miserable. And we don't realize that the happiest people among us can actually be the most depressed and the saddest. So if you look at me the way I was, and this is a very interesting choice of pictures that I've decided to put up. So if you look at me in this picture, I was actually stressed. At this point, my stress was it was at the verge of growing into depression. Um, this picture to I was depressed. It's almost the same day. You should take note of how I look. Could you tell that in this picture, this person is stressed? Could you tell? And usually, it's the people who look normal, just like this, who take their own lives. Here, I was still stressing. This is this is very, very recent. Very recent. Very recent. Bright smile that looks genuine. Deep within, I was stressing. Still stressing. Next picture. Still stressing. And this is a picture I was talking about. And mind you, these people, I believe, took their own lives. I think there's stories around these people taking their own lives. This is what depression looks like. Bright smiles, happy people. But at the end of the day, what is happiness? What is peace? What is a stable state of mind? It's beyond what we see. So during this period that I'm from showing you, there's one thing that really kept me sane. So for me, there's something that I don't know. There's something that happened. Um, Usually, when there's a trigger, when something triggers stress or depression, there's this sense of holding yourself together and wanting to forge ahead with life as if nothing happened, because we are afraid of the process of going, or we are afraid of going through the process and the feeling of being depressed. So in trying to cover up from what you would ordinarily go through when you're stressing, I'm recording something. Yeah. So try to cover up by pretending to be fine, pretending to be okay, putting up the best smiles. So I'm quickly gonna give you a rundown, or just tell you how I managed to go through this period. I'm fine now. I'm not faking a smile. I'm really fine. That's why I've even had the courage to come out and speak about it, because it took time to reflect. And yeah, so the first thing I did again was to surround myself with people who genuinely care and understand. And then at this point, I gave hints to say this is what's going on, because they also actually knew that this is going on. So they gave me room and they allowed me to just sit and be do things that I actually enjoy doing, because that's key. You have to have to do things that you enjoy doing. And the other things, I had decided to subscribe to a physical fitness studio. I decided to subscribe to a gym because, when you just sit around and your mind is idle, what you end up turning to is destructive. That's where people turn to abusing substances. That's why people turn to stealing. That's why people turn to becoming abusive in their homes. That's why people just become something else. So for me, each time I felt a trigger closing up, I'll just go to the gym, work out, have fun with my friends, and when I return, I'm tired, and life goes on like that. Okay, and yeah, so you always have to find somebody to speak to. You have to look for someone you can trust, that you can always talk to. I remember back in the days when I used to drink. I think I don't drink anymore. It's been too long since I last had alcohol. So I remember when I was still single, a bachelor, and I'm having pressure. Sometimes I just take a bath, go to the bar, and sit alone and have a conversation with the barber. I mean, with the bartender. Those conversations where you feel tipsy, and then there's something bottling up in your chest. I just go to the bot. This is a hint, actually. This is a very good trick that works. Talking to a stranger, a total stranger, opening up actually really works, because the problem, especially with us men, it's like we like bottling things up. We like accumulating issues, and we don't usually open up, because there's that cliche notion of men do not cry, men don't break down. That's the clicheest thing I've ever heard, if there's such a word. Yeah, so I would go to a bar. I remember I used to go to Lusaka Club. Yeah, I just go to Lusaka Club. Sometimes I would sit by the grounds. If there are people playing soccer, I'll watch them play as I sip off whatever I was drinking. And then when I start feeling nice, intoxicated a little bit, I would go inside and just start a conversation with the bar person. And they would usually take shifts. You find that today there's this person, tomorrow there's another one. So there's a lot of power that lies in opening up. Not necessarily because you're looking for a solution, but because you just feel like you need to ease off some pressure from your chest. You just need to empty it a little bit, even if the person is not paying attention, there's that um, ease that just results from talking about something. And the other good thing about talking to strangers is that even if a story is embarrassing, even if a story is funny, when they go and tell that story to another person, they won't know who they're talking about. So even if the person they told met you, they wouldn't know that the story that was told was about you. So yeah, there's that which can be done, which I did, and it worked for me. So there's a lot of ways you can ease pressure. At the end of the day, what we're trying to preach is that ending your life is not the solution, and yeah, the other thing I did is I detached. Ashman, there's so much power that lies in detaching. So one other thing I did is I detached from anything that would give me pressure to conform to societal norms, which society has imposed on us. So I first of all went to my WhatsApp and removed everyone from seeing my status, first of all, because there's this urge that, just even if you don't want to post something, you just feel like I should post something on my status. And mostly it's because we want to show the world, want to show society that this is what I'm about, this is what I'm up to. And I'm doing this so that I'm showing you, so that you should know that I'm just like you. What you're doing, I'm also doing. That's why some people have the pressure to just bath and go to a certain place, take pictures, and come back, because they want to show the world that they're also doing what everyone else is doing. So there's just that pressure about WhatsApp statuses. So I disabled that for a period, for a certain period. No one would see, even if, because there was still that urge. I would actually post statuses, but I closed up on who would see my statuses. No one could see, but sometimes I would still post, because sometimes I pep talk myself. I just put something so I can go back and read it. So I'd put something on my status, but no one could see it. And I also muted everyone. I couldn't see their statuses. And it helped me come back to my own little circle, where I could only focus on what I was up to, what I was working on, and restoring my good mental state. And also, the other thing is, I cut down on certain relations, certain friendships. Um, I just really streamlined my circle. It became really small, to a point where if I'm gonna talk to you, either directly related, it's either we share the same energy, we're up to the anything that negates what I'm doing, I cut it off. Because usually the pressure that we have comes from the things that we see. The things that we see have so much power to dictate what we start desiring. So if you don't control your what you see, if you don't control what you have access to, you end up seeing different things. And because we're living in a society that imposes subtly, it's very subtle, that imposes certain things on us, believe believe it or not, eventually you're going to start conforming. Eventually you're going to start desiring to do those things, and you desiring to do those things implies pressure, because in the first place you don't have the capacity, you're not capacious enough to do those things, so you start going to debts, and just so you can sustain a lifestyle that you cannot afford. So I cut out a lot of things. I cut out a lot of people up to now. This is not, I'm not saying this in bad taste, but if you go through your contact, especially WhatsApp, you'll find that you have numbers that are really irrelevant and not necessary for you. You find that you have a lot of contacts that you do not need. And because all those people are on your contact list, each time you're viewing statuses, you're seeing a lot of things that will give you pressure. My man, if you're going through a period where you have pressure, you're trying to do something, cut down on the things that you see. Cut down on the the extent of your exposure, the things that you're exposed to, you know? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you. Whatever you see, whatever you desire, comes down to your ability to acquire. If you cannot, stop seeing it. Otherwise, if you keep on seeing it, your desire for that thing will keep on growing. And if you really cannot afford that thing, you will end up being depressed. And sometimes depression is resultant of silly desires, really not necessary, you know? So depression has been there, and it will keep on being there. And people are depressed every day. We cannot tell people not to get depressed or not to be stressed or not to be traumatized. These are things that have been there, they're there, and they'll continue being there. But what we can do is controlling the extent and the extent and the magnitude of the implications of being in that position or being in that state. So I have done my part today. If you are going through a certain phase, I like to call it a phase because I have been through those things and I've come out, which entails that it's not the end of the road. It may seem blank. This is what stress feels like. It feels like you're standing in a ring of fire, and the flame is so high and so hot. Each time you try to see beyond it, your eyes are blinded. Each time you try to see beyond it, you cannot, because you're afraid you might get burned. But once you gather the courage to hop over the flame, you realize that it doesn't actually burn. So stress is a place of obscurity. You can't see beyond. You feel like you're in this ditch, and there's no winch that can scoop you off that place, and you feel like this is the end for me. What should I why should I keep on living? It's actually the beginning of a new journey, or it's actually a spring that propels you to better things. Sometimes when your back is against the wall, the next best thing to do is to stop fighting. Just find a comfortable spot against the wall and relax and breathe. And eventually you realize that you start creating space for yourself to move, because the more you fight, the more you constrict yourself. The more you fight, the more you hold yourself in bondage, and you cannot move because you're under pressure. So sometimes when you're under pressure, just relax, just cut off certain things, and just be your raw self, you know. So that's that. I don't know if you're hearing things from the background, but I'm in a house. I live with people, and like I said, this is unscripted, so those things are prone, man. You once in a while hear voices and probably hear people saying certain things, but we live in a world with people, and people say things. So I just thought I should come out and share my sentiments and share my story, and just yeah, just speak up with the hope that regardless of the smallness of our audience and regardless of the smallness of our voice, we believe that ours is to speak. We believe that ours is to share ideas. We believe that ours is to effect a change, where somebody is contemplating something bad and transform thoughts into something constructive and restore hope and restore courage by sharing different ideas. So, like I said, today I decided to come out alone and just speak about what I have spoken about, and hopefully it has impacted somebody's life out there. If you feel like you're fine and you know somebody who's going through what I have been talking about, there's a share button here. You can feel free and share it, and hopefully it can reach them. Besides sharing, you can also mention in the comment section, just call out their names and encourage them to watch this video. If you feel like what I have been saying is valuable and it's capable of causing a shift in the thought process of a person who's going through a mental health um, challenge, you can, yeah, you can share this video, you can comment, you can mention, and just let it reach the people that really need to hear what I have been saying. I speak not in the capacity of a person who's trained or endowed with the end with the knowledge to speak about these things, but I speak in the capacity of a person who's speaking about. So we may have somebody to join us on the next episode, but for now, I decided to come along and just speak about this. It has been your boy. My name is Senjo, and this has been Ask a Young Zambian with Senjo, brought to you courtesy of Mellow Media. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel because this is going to be viewed on both Facebook and YouTube, and also subscribe to our Facebook page, which is Mellow Media. And yeah, let's get more interactive. Let's get to hear more from each other. And may God bless us. May God bless us with the courage to speak out. May God bless us with the ideas to navigate and just find routes around the issues, the different issues that we're going through, so that together we can have and enjoy the good things that are there in life, which are infinite and our portion. So have a lovely evening and God bless you.